Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And do you know who I think I am? But do me a favor and hit that like button or you'll ruin Christmas. And while we wait for the population of barking spiders to thin itself out and become less aggressive, let's take a look at the Jin Rhino kit. So, full disclosure, Jin sent this to me to check out. I didn't pay for it out of pocket. They send me their new stuff when they release it to take a look at, assemble, and show you guys. And, just wanted to get that full disclosure out there. I've been critical of a couple things in the past, but do with that information what you will. And let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't, and you know I spoil you. And first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We are on JG10. We've got a reversible pocket clip. We've got a button lock. We've got a thumb stud, and we got a front flipper. So let's flick the flipper. And we have got 2 inches of 9CR18 steel. So, on the Amazons right now, the kit is $29.99 with black scales and $32.99 with the jade scales. So now you've got all that information. Now, when I went to do the assembly, I was a little bit daunted because I've never had a button lock apart before, and I was like, maybe this is a bit more complicated than I'm used to. But the assembly was really painless. It went together on my first take, which doesn't happen because normally I get a couple of steps out of order and I have to redo it. First try. The instructions on this one are really, really clear, really easy to follow. It went together really well. Go check out the assembly video. It was a treat to assemble. So I have carried this thing for a week and my God, I have been unable to put this thing down for any length of time. All right, normally when I'm walking around work or doing whatever, like I've got this thing in my pocket and like I'll sit there in my truck and flick it open and closed, or I'll work, at the end of the day at work, I'll flick it open and close. Like, no, every opportunity I had to flick this open and close and play with it, I did. And this looks like one of those cases where they threw every single feature they could at it in one go, which usually is a bad thing. But everything on this works really well. The button lock is really nice. It's very forgiving for a button lock. I don't have nearly as many problems with it bouncing back open as I have with a lot of other button locks. That might be because I unintentionally grabbed the strongest spring that was in the bag. It does come with several different springs that look like several different strengths, so you got some options there. That front flipper, I do like a front flipper on a knife this small. A lot of the front flippers I've gotten have been on larger knives and don't work that well, but this one, really good. The thumb stud is removable. You can move it back and forth along the dingus into this track right here. It is removable, which is handy for sharpening, and had I set it for personal preference instead of carrying it to show you guys all the features, I would have deleted the thumb stud. The reverse flick on it's nice. The flick out the thumb stud is nice. It does centrifugal open. Let's see if I can get this under the camera. There we are. So it's centrifugal flicks open, and you guys know, if you've been here for a second, I love a good centrifugal open. That's my favorite way to open things, and yeah, it did really good. So this thing is an absolute monster for fidgeting with. Now, the only shortcoming I found here is the pivot pin did not want to stay put. The pivot pin would back out, and it would back out quite easily and put a ton of blade play in there, and I was worried it was going to come all the way back out. So I went as far as throwing a T8 and a T6 driver in my bag so that, when I was on break or something like that, I could tighten it down and get it back to normal. I did go through and try tightening all of my body screws to see if I had an issue where the scales were not lined up enough to let this thing seat all the way. It wasn't that. I tightened it down until the blade wasn't moving right and then dialed it back just a hair to get it loosened up again. That didn't fix it. So I emailed Jen, and my point of contact there said that it seems to be pretty common with kit knives in their experience, so they were working on finding a solution for that. I dropped some thread locker on there. Now, this is the first time I've used thread locker on anything, and I wasn't sure what to get. So I went on to internets, and I looked at some forums, and random strangers on the internet said medium thread locker was the way to go. So I got this, and I believe this was 2 bottles like this for $5. Enough to last me a lifetime. So, if you're going to buy one of these, thread locker is recommended. Now, my point of contact, she said that they were looking to find solutions for that. So I shared with them small samples of thread locker for like $1.33 American, which, if they're buying them, in China in bulk, they should be able to get them a lot cheaper and throw them in the kit without adding anything for extra cost or not much. But that's an option. So they may or may not throw that in there. They've been really good about listening to the feedback from me and the other creators that they send these things to check out. I mean, really good. So maybe that'll show up and, you'll be able to take care of this with the contents of the kit. But if you're going to be taking apart knives and playing with them anyways and going through some knives, you might want to buy some thread locker to begin with. I haven't had to use it yet, but now that I have, I like the confidence that I have knowing the pivot pin is in good shape. Now, once I did the thread locker, oh my God, I have not been able to loosen this thing back up by opening and closing it. And I mean, I was walking around slamming it open as hard as I could and closing it as many cycles as possible. And like, again, I could not put this thing down. I could not. This thing is a fidgeting monster. And it was every opportunity I had at work. Walking through the back room during the day, if it looked like the sales floor was empty enough to get away with it, like I really went to town on it. And, this thing has been fantastic. The blade stock is a very good thickness for something this stubby. They listened, the chubby kit, that was a cool toy with an edge, but that blade stock was a bit too thick for the grind they had on it. So they adjusted that because me and a couple other people provided feedback and they listened. And I put this thing through the plastic wrap on pallets. It breezed through there until after I fed it a few pieces of cardboard and it slowed down just a touch. The finest part of the apex got knocked down, but I was also like doing some strange cuts. I had one cut, trying to get some stuff moved and removed out of the way of the baler so I could close the door on it. And I get in there and I cut, and I caught the tip exactly right where I felt no resistance on that. I thought I hadn't actually cut it until it came off in my hand. I caught the right part of the blade just right to just zip through it, which really happy to see. Really, really happy to see stuff like that. Like, I like my blades extra slicey. I'm not out there doing hard use work. I'm not chopping up trees. I'm not cutting branches out of my way, which I used to do with my pocket knives. I'm not abusing these things. So I like my blades extra slicey. The slicier, the better. And this thing did a fantastic job at that. And again, the 9CR18, I'm happy to see it. We haven't done 9CR18 on Cardboard Slayer in a while. And the last time we did that, we weren't nearly as refined in our process. We weren't going for the same results. So we didn't have like the full extent of what this thing can do on the early test on that thing. So I am looking forward to going in on this and really, really giving her what for. Let's take a look at the edge after carrying it and using it a little bit. And I'm not sure what to expect here, but yeah, yeah, the edge is still just fine. It's just fine, and with the plastic on the pallets, if I put a little tension on that plastic, even that single layer did go well, but that was having to put a little bit of tension on it, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Not every edge has to be that perfect, and this thing held on to what it's had so far really well. So let's take a look at our edge on the handy dandy edge tester that you guys provided for the channel. Thank you for that. And if you don't know, channel memberships, live stream donations, ad revenue goes back into the channel, and our first month of that, you guys made sure we could take care of this thing. But what do we got in here? 267. Let's do one more test, because it definitely tested a lot lower than that earlier. I think I was in the 150s, but I was also a little bit off center on that clip. And man, I burned through so many of these clips. Tear this out. 219. Okay, so we're in the 200s. That's still a really good edge. It'll do just fine. I know it was much finer earlier, but again, a lot of knives you get in like that, in my experience so far, you get it through the first few pieces of cardboard and the first few good solid cuts and the very, very finest part of the apex. There we are. Words are hard. This is somehow your fault. The very finest part of the apex breaks down just a touch, and, you wind up with that. It's still cutting good, and like I said, it zipped through that cardboard like a bucket of hot damn. Like, it cut really, really well. So, this, honestly, has easily become one of my favorite knives in the collection. I'm really going to miss it when I start carrying my next knife for the week. We are doing our Cardboard Slayer session on it, and we're going to do that Sunday. It is Friday as of the day of uploading, and on Sunday we're doing Cardboard Slayer on this, on that live stream, and I am really, really looking forward to playing with this thing. Hopefully that 9CR lasts a long time, because I think I remember the last 9CR18 we did was the Civivi Civivi Mastodon. And that thing lasted longer than I was able to cut that night. And again, we weren't doing the testing wasn't as refined and our process wasn't as established, so I think I dropped before the edge was done cutting. So again, this will be fun. It's almost like going in on 9CR18 for the first time again. And Jin has been running D2, so I'm happy to see this. If memory serves, 9CR18 works a bit better than D2 for edge retention, but we're going to find that out. And yeah, I mean, this thing is fantastic. The only thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy a little bit of medium thread locker. And hopefully in the future, they do include the thread locker in the kit so that you can take care of it with all the stuff provided. But, again, if you're going to be playing with knives and, really, really using them and taking them apart, get some thread locker anyways. First time I've used it, but the amount of confidence I've got from that now is fantastic. It's kind of you didn't know you needed it till you had it. So, yeah, so to sum everything up, this thing is fantastic. The inclusion of every feature they could get in here, does not detract from the knife, which is a bit of a break from the norm. The thumb stud is removable, so you have options. The reverse flick is good without a thumb stud, so if it was me, I would have pulled the thumb stud, except I got to show you guys what it is and what it do. It cuts really well. It is super fun to fidget with, and very, very, very competent knife. Very competent. Like, I'm surprised at just how good this thing is, and for $33 on the JG10 and $30 on the black scales, it's really, really hard to argue with this, guys. It's really, really hard. So, I can't think of a lot else to add without holding you guys hostage. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming back. I appreciate you so, so much. Please subscribe if you haven't. We do have giveaways. They're coming up. The giveaway that I had planned got delayed because of FedEx and stupidity. So bear with me on that. If you haven't hit that like button, please do. I don't want you to ruin Christmas. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this thing overall and what you what you like about it or anything else. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.